So I'm really excited to tell you about this budget fragrance that I discovered while on holiday on a trip to Europe. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with a brand called Bensimon. They're known for their sneakers that are 35 euros. In fact, I was walking through the store and I came across a little corner of perfumes. They had two different perfumes in two different sizes. One of them is called Cologne Bensimon 1993, this one right here. I smelled it and I was like, wow, what's the price on this? I asked. They told me 35 euros. 35 euros for this. I'm going to tell you all about this fragrance. It's a great one. I know it might be a bit tough to get, but if you're visiting France, visit the store and grab a bottle because this stuff is amazing. Find out about Cologne Bensimon 1993 in this video. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. Yes, I'm always curious to discover different fragrances, stuff that I haven't discovered where I live or even on my travels. So when I stumble on a stash of fragrances from a brand that I'm familiar with but not too experienced with, I kind of take note. And this one actually caught my attention because the fragrances are either in 100 ml for 35 euros, and there's two of them. One's more like a traditional cologne, one's more like a musky amber, and the one that I got is a musky amber. And then they come in a large 250 ml splash bottle as well for 65 euros. So you walk in, grab one of their most famous sneakers for 35 euros, and grab a bottle of perfume or cologne in this case for another 35 euros. You walk out under 100 euros with shoes and a perfume. This one actually is a fragrance that was originally created in 1993, and it was the founder who met with Pierre Bourdon. If you're familiar with this perfumer, you know who I'm talking about. He created a lot of fragrances, and of course he created Kouros and things like that. Instantly, after I was told it was 35 euros, I bought it. In fact, I should have bought the large bottle as the splash bottle as well, but since I'm, touring Europe, I don't want to carry a lot of heavy things with me. But eventually I will buy not only the large size of this as well, but also the other fragrance that's in the collection, which I believe is 2005. I can't remember exactly. But this launched in 1993. 100 ml, as I said, for 35 euros. It's a spray bottle. And then the splash bottle is 250 ml for 65 euros. This is what it looks like. And those of you that are not familiar with Bensimon, I think they used to carry a lot of men's clothes. They don't anymore from what I heard, but they do have men's shoes, and also they have a lot of home accessories and things like that, and then also a lot of women's clothing. I think they're mostly known for their shoes. They're very simple, flat, almost like barefoot shoe type shoes, but their sneakers, they're kind of retro sneakers. But this is a really, really great discovery, and I had to tell you guys all about it. So for me, it reminds me of a vintage amber fragrance with an overdose of musk and patchouli. So it really takes me back to yesteryear when fragrances were like this. But the only problem, the only negative for this is it's an eau de cologne. If you like beast mode, this is not for you. If you like vintage classic fragrances and you're okay with a fragrance that sits really close to you, then I think you should seek this one out. For 35 euros, it's just use it up faster than normal, because for me, the fragrance has good lingering power. It stays with you for a while. I think for me, it's very close to the skin with a very minimal amount of projection when you first spray it, but it's the fact that it lingers with you, lingers on for a while. That's what I like about it. So the notes breakdown for this is benzoin, castorium, civet, bergamot, rosewood, cedar, lemon, geranium, hyssop, jasmine, lavender, white wine lees, myrrh, patchouli, sandalwood, petitgrain, tonka beans, and vanillin. So when I first smelled it in store, it did lightly, very, very lightly hint at Musk Ravageur. But to me, maybe it reminds of the original Musk Ravageur versus what they're selling now at Frederick Mall. Right now, Musk Ravageur to me is not animalic whatsoever. It's also very gourmand to me. But I think the fact that this is very musky It's musky in the animalic way. So if you're not into animalics, stay away from this one. But I think it's the fact that it has that kind of musk that's in here with the lavender, because there's lavender in Musk Ravageur as well. I think that's what people might connect with. For me, again, Musk Ravageur is not animalic. It's more gourmand. This is not gourmand. It is sweet. It's more of an amber, but just going back to what the fragrances were back in the day when they made these ambery, fragrances with aromatics and spices. But for me, what's different also here is the fact that there's a lot of patchouli here, and I don't think the patchouli in Musk Ravageur stands out. In fact, I don't think it did at all. But boy, this is super delicious. Let's quickly smell. And if you're familiar with this fragrance, do let me know. A 35 euro fragrance is really, I don't see fragrances like this anymore. And yeah, I mean, as soon as I sprayed it, I'm getting a bit of a Musk Ravageur vibe. Perhaps this is how Musk Ravageur used to be, more animalic like this. The fact that they're using Civet and also Castorium here. Again, this is probably not the real stuff. It's most likely regulated, but man, this is good. It's really, really, really good. Really good, guys. Now I need to go buy a large bottle because for me, I like the way it smells. It feels more like a realistic musk, but with a lot of stuff going on. It's sweet, it's resinous, for sure it's ambery, it's earthy with that patchouli that comes in quite a bit. There are some citrusy touches for sure in here. They're definitely appearing. And then of course aromatics, like there's a lot of lavender and a lot of geranium that comes in. For me, the lavender is more prominent, and I think it's the lavender that's reminding me more of the Musk Ravageur experience. But sweet and ambery and resinous and balsamic, all rolled into one, but very close to the skin. And, it's not loud, but if you like the idea of something that sits close to the skin, paying tribute to some of the ambery, fragrances of yesteryear, what was known as the Orientals, I think you're going to really enjoy something like this. Let's quickly spray on skin and give you a little bit more about this. Remember, this is an eau de cologne. So eau de colognes are the lightest fragrances, least oils. But with the fact that this is the kind of fragrance it does have good lingering power for me. Now, I think younger generation might consider this a bit too old school, but boy, it's good. It is so, so good. What I really like is the whole Castorium Civet experience in this. It's super sexy, dating back to fragrances from a time when they were all kind of like this, because for me it transports me back in time when I was first discovering fragrances that people that were a lot older were wearing, and I remember smelling. It's quite spicy for sure. There's a lot of spices in here. Just imagine those big bad fragrances of yesteryear. And for 35 euros, some of you, I know some of you like fragrances that are not so loud, but the way this fragrance is, it acts like a big bad beast, but because that's the style, but it sits closer to the skin. And I think this is the kind of fragrances some people like, kind of vintagey, but they don't want it to be super loud. They don't want people to smell them. Only they'll smell them if they get close to them, and they might have a bit of warmth and the fragrances projecting off of them and things like that. For me, I prefer louder fragrances. The reason I bought this is because of the style. For me, it's very retro, very vintage smelling. And it's a brand I don't know much about as far as fragrances go. And looking up their fragrances, right now they only sell two. The one that's more of a citrus, aromatic, kind of a floral citrus thing. And then this one. This one, I was all over it as soon as I smelled it, and had to have a bottle. Again, 35 euros for a 100 ml bottle. It's an eau de cologne, so it's not super strong. But the type of fragrance this is acts like it's a beast because it's quite musky. If you like musk in fragrances, if you like ambery, spicy, woody, aromatic, you're going to love this. And especially if you like vintage fragrances. I can't believe how good this is, guys. Really, really great. So let me know if you're familiar with it. Those of you that live in France, are you familiar with the store? Because you just walk in and buy a bottle for 35 euros. Really great stuff. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on what I just told you about Bensimon, Cologne Bensimon 1993. Let me know if you're curious to get your nose on something like this. Because again, 250 ml for 65. You can buy it and split it up with somebody and put it in atomizers and wear it. Again, it's an eau de cologne, so it's not going to be super strong. But as I'm saying, it's the kind of fragrance that this is. It might come off more beastly. Make sense? But if you're not into vintage, if you're not into classic fragrances, you're probably not going to like this because you're going to smell a bit animalic. But it's really, really good, guys. Really good. Again, I hope you guys get a chance to try this. If you have a friend visiting, have them stop into the Bensimon store. I actually bought this myself from Belgium in Brussels, but there is a Bensimon store in Paris. So if you have a friend visiting these two cities, get them to go to the Bensimon store and buy a bottle or two. Again, you walk in and buy their sneakers for 35 euros and buy the fragrance for 35 euros. You walk out having shoes and fragrance for under 100. That's pretty and insane for the price. Nobody sells fragrances like this. I have to look for classic fragrances in the vintage form to experience fragrances like this. And I wish somebody would release something like this because it's amazing. And going back to Pierre Bourdon, he's one of the geniuses of the classic perfume world. He created Kouros. He created Cool Water. He created French Lover. He created so many different fragrances for Creed. And finding out about 1993 for the first time, and I'm wowed by how inexpensive it is and how great it smells, and just wanted you guys to know about it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Cologne Bensimon 1993. What are your thoughts on this fragrance? Put a comment down below. Again, if you're a vintage lover, please get your nose on this. If you have a friend visiting or you're visiting these two cities, I don't know if there's any other locations for Bensimon. But again, Paris, there's a store. I've been to it. There's a store here in Brussels where I'm shooting this video. And please get your nose on this one. Just be warned, it's quite animalic. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.